Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Cooking with the Cripple. I'm your host, the Cripple, and today, as you can tell, we're going to be making some, pizza today. And I honestly prefer build your own pizza. So what you need for this is you need some beef. I know it sounds weird, but trust me, I've tried this on store-bought pizzas and it's really good. So I wanted to try it for myself. But you're gonna need beef and mozzarella, sharp cheddar, Colby Jack, cheeses, all block cheeses like this. And I'm gonna use all of this and I know you've only seen one crust, but there's two crusts here, so I'm making one for myself and one for my neighbors. They're basically my test subjects for these recipes. So there's no specific recipe that I'm gonna follow. It's my own design, but my neighbor told me to try a hamburger pizza, so I thought that would be pretty good. So what you need is some hamburger, and you're gonna brown that in the pan, which means just put it on for 1, maybe 2 minutes, just to get the outside nice and cooked, and then it'll cook the rest of the way through. Trust me, it tastes really good. And you need a packet of pepperoni. If you have two-sided packets, like the ones that lay like this, you need only one side for one pizza and then the other for the other one. But we're gonna start by grating our cheese. So I've got my grater here and a bowl. You want to have a bowl so that way you don't have to focus on regrading, but you want to get yourself a bowl and like I said, this is for both pizzas. So yes, this is a very large bowl for one pizza, but it's about the right size for two pizzas. So we're gonna grate these together, and then we'll cook the beef, and then we'll put it all together. So I will see you guys when I get grated. Another thing that I just remembered is you want to get the block cheese like this, because that pre-shredded stuff, it melts perfectly, it just doesn't taste, it doesn't have the natural flavor that this has. So you want to get block cheese. You don't want to cheat your way through this, because if you cheat your way through this, the pizza's not going to taste as good as all natural, like from scratch kind of pizza. I know I didn't make this crust, I bought this crust, but maybe sometime in the near future when I actually know how to make crusts, that's the only really store-bought component. Like this is store-bought beef, but we've seasoned it with our own stuff. It was just plain and simple beef when we started out, but we being me and my mother, because she helped me out, she helped me move out and stuff like that. So, but anyways, don't cheat your way through this. You gotta have patience in order to do stuff like this, because otherwise it won't taste as good. Another thing you want to do while you're grating your cheese is run over to the stove and preheat your oven to 425, and you're going to cook this for about 7 or 8 minutes, I think, because that way the stuff is properly melded together, but at the same time it's not burnt. So you want to make sure to check it every so often, and the way you check it is you just crack it open that much, because if you keep opening the oven, sorry, my mind blanked for a second. If you keep opening and closing the oven to check it, like pulling it all the way open, you're gonna just delay the inevitable, or delay your cooking time by making the oven have to come back up to that temperature, because you're letting all the heat out of the oven. So you just want to crack it that much for about 6 seconds. Check it, close it. So preheat your oven for 425 and leave it alone for those 7 or 8 minutes, except to check it. And if your stove or oven has a surface light, I want to say it's a surface light, but mine's called an oven light. But if you have a light of any sort inside of the oven, that works perfectly. You can just look at it through the door. So just make sure to leave it alone. Like, let it cook and do its thing. Another thing you want to do while grating is change directions. Like, see how that's misshapen? That's because I've been grating it like this the whole time. So you want to change directions or change the orientation of your cheese so that that little thing is now on the other side of your hand, and you're going to use it to basically restart the grating process, because sometimes the grater grates so well that it makes the lines perfectly so you can't get any more cheese, because it's basically not registering that there's any more to grab. It's basically going like that. It's basically making a perfect impression of the grater, so that way the grater can't grab any more cheese and put it on the plate or the pasta or whatever you happen to be making. I don't know. So that's another thing, is always change directions. But we're about halfway through with the cheese. We just got to do the sharp cheddar next, and then you'll have about. This is just for one pizza, because I actually prefer a cheesier pizza, but I'm not going to go overboard, because I'm not making this for myself. And you when you're cooking for somebody else, you never want to go overboard, because they might not have the same taste as you. So you're cooking for a different person. Now, if I was cooking for myself, I would have bought 2 or 3 blocks of cheese and just went overboard. I don't know. I just really love cheese. But that's for 2 pizzas. 2 or 3 blocks of cheese. But I'll see you guys in a minute when I get done with the grating. I'm almost done. Alright, so we've got the grating done. Now we need to move on to browning the beef. So while I get that together, why don't you get your beef together, and then we can brown the beef and then come back. So I'm gonna go get the pan ready. You don't need anything special, you just need a pan. Like, you don't need to put butter in the bottom of the pan like you usually do, but this time we're just gonna brown it, get it done with, and then move on. So I will see you there. Okay, so we're gonna get this nice and hot, and then we're gonna put the beef in. And like I said, there's no special ingredients or anything like that. It's just cooking it, essentially. Ugh, I did not like that sound. That sound was murder on my ears. But we're going to let this get nice and hot, and then we're going to brown the beef. So here we go. Just toss it in there. And I took this patty and I diced it up. You can cut it however you want to. I just find that dicing it is so much easier than just cooking a burger patty and browning it that way and then cutting it. But you do it however you want to. But notice how I'm keeping it constantly moving. You got to keep everything moving for fear of burning. But once it turns, well, brown, that's when you know you're ready to go. So I will talk to you guys when this turns nice and brown and golden and delicious. I have no idea if you heard me. But while the beef cools, we're going to add our sauce and our pepperoni and everything else that we can possibly add, except for the cheese. We're going to save the cheese for last. We're going to save the cheese for last because this seals in everything else. Oh, and I also, while I was doing everything else, I took the liberty of tossing this. You want to toss this together so that way you don't get one kind of cheese for, like, let's say half of it, and then the other half you get the other two. You want to get it nice and mixed up so that way you can have an even coating of cheese. I'm sorry, I'm going crazy, I guess. But you want to open this up. I don't know why I grabbed the knife. But it's got an easy pull tab. We're going to open this up as soon as that cheese. Yeah, the cheese. We're cooking the cheese. As soon as the beef cools down, we're gonna open this up, and then we're gonna put the cream out, or the not cream, the sauce, and then we're gonna put this bad boy in the oven. So I will see you then. Another thing that you always want to do when you're cooking is hydrate, because some of the stuff that you're cooking with does whisk away moisture, so you always want to keep a water bottle nearby. Mine's over there on the stove, but you always want to hydrate. You always want to be safe. You always want to be aware of your surroundings. So while that's cooling down, I'm not going to name this, but I've got a certain kind of sauce here, and we're going to use it as our base. And this is a new experiment for me. I've always used just regular old-fashioned marinara sauce or pasta sauce, but it should work out just the same. But you need a large spoon for this, and your sauce, of course. So, apparently I tightened this too tight. Oh, there we go. There we go. But, here we go. There we go. Stay. But you're going to take a dollop of your sauce, and then you're just going to plop it right there in the middle, and then use the bottom of the spoon to scoop it around. So this shouldn't take but 2, maybe 3 more dollops, depending on how big I make them. And I'd say 4, because that doesn't look like it's going to cover much. But you want a nice even coating while you're doing this, and oh, that smells delicious. I just smelled the beef. But anyways, you want a nice even coating. Oh geez, we're gonna need a lot more sauce. But this is gonna be experimental for me, so it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun no matter what, because I'm proud of how this has turned out. Even though I haven't really done anything yet, I'm proud of my cooking skills thus far. So I will be back to you guys when I get this nice and coated. So as you can see, I've got the pepperoni all prepped, and all we need now is the beef. So I'm gonna go get that, and then we're gonna put the cheese on, and then we're gonna cook this bad boy. So I will see you in a hot minute. Okay, so now it's time for the cheese, and what you want to do is, here, I'll bring it over to you. But what you want to do is just get you a nice big handful, and it's kind of like flour. You want to fluff it up a little bit before you grab some, and just start at the center and work your way out. But you want to get this, we're going to use this whole thing for the pizza. And then we're going to put this in the oven for, I'd say, 7 or 8 minutes, and then that's it. You can have fresh, delicious pizza for nothing, essentially. I'm going to retry to make this with a dough, but I need to learn how to make the dough first. But you can essentially make this from scratch. But anyways, I will talk to you guys when I'm done with this, because my mind is blanking and it's really annoying me. As you can see, we've got our pizza nice and ready to go, and all we gotta do is put it in the oven and then clean up. Because you always want to clean up your mess in the kitchen, because then it just explodes into a huger mess if you don't. So while this is baking or cooking, what is the definition of, I think it's baking, but I'll stick with baking. But while this is baking, we're gonna clean up the mess and then eat. So I will see you guys at supper time. If I can hit the button. Okay, so it's time to take it out of the oven. Let me just do a little bit. There you go. But it's time to take it out of the oven. It's been cooking for about 15, even though the recipe called for 7 to 10. I like mine a little darker in terms of the cheese. But we're going to let this cool for about 5 minutes. and then we're going to cut it. But you still want it to be semi-hot. That's why I'm giving it such little time to cool, because it's much easier to cut, in my personal opinion, than when it's like cold. So we're going to let this cool for 5 minutes, starting now, and then we're going to cut it, and then we're going to enjoy. So I will see you at cutting time and supper time.